not really doing a documentary. I'm just documenting my life, and this is part of my life.
Tina started documenting, as a way to kind of journal what she was doing, these different changes that were happening.
I didn't have time to write about it, so my medium was right in my hand. My phone had this camera that would capture these moments. So I just started recording almost every minute of my life.
Well, I'm in Chicago and I'm leaving here in about an hour and a half to come to Detroit.
You know Detroit will always be my home. Maybe some more space sales will do me some good. It's all this pollution, all this self-pollution. I wanna lay down in a field of flowers. All the pretty colors, all the pretty colors. All the pretty colors, all the pretty colors. Spend my time on the neon signs. The strangers who love me better than you. Wasn't I good enough? Was not pretty enough? Was I always there for you? I'm going out to the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. I'm an exercise all the feel that
Michigan and Detroit was an amazing area back in the day. When I think about my grandparents immigrating here from Greece in the 1920s, they were coming on the promise of the American dream in the auto industry, and they owned and operated businesses in the city of Detroit and were very successful.
And at the time, it was a really prosperous area. It was middle class. You had families, businesses.
There was actually a downtown where we did our major shopping at department stores like the Old Hudson's and Himmelholz, and there was a sense of neighborhoods, at least in my neighborhood. People lived together, so you had on the same block perhaps a doctor and a bus driver and an educator. I mean, everybody was together, so there was this real sense of community at that time.
The sidewalks were packed with people, diverse people, and they had immigrated from the South for the auto industry, and from Europe. There was other companies making cars at that time, but the individuals that were here in Detroit really took it to the next level.
Then we were an industrial city, and anybody that wanted to work had an opportunity to work in the big three. So there were a lot of job opportunities for young folk.
For me, I came back to Detroit in 1982. It was the first time during that period where there were visible signs of homelessness.
Job opportunities were still there, but they started to decrease along with the population of the city started to decrease also at that time. People started moving to the suburbs started blooming.
When I'm driving through the neighborhood that my grandparents grew up in, I can't even believe every single house is burnt out. It was just heartbreaking to me.
Once we graduate college and we're from Michigan, the first thought was, where are we going to move to? What city we're going to move to? Because the opportunities are just not here.
When Detroit began to attract major sports teams, the All-Star Game, the Super Bowl, there was a lot of physical development around those activities. It brought in people, brought in tourist dollars to the city of Detroit.
We need to be prepared in any kind of industry that comes into our area, our state of Michigan, the city of Detroit. It doesn't matter what the industry is as long as it's going to open up the opportunities for our young people.
I was born and raised in the Metro Detroit area, and I went to a community college for a year, but I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I was unemployed at the time. I was literally buying stuff and selling it on eBay just to get by, doing surveys online. That was an opportunity that came to me through a friend of my mom's that, saw what I was going through at the time and said, "Oh, I can help you. Like, there's this movie happening. Do you think you'd want to come to Chicago and work on this movie?" I couldn't even believe the offer. Like, I was just like, yeah, I didn't even think about it like it was actually going to happen. And I had no film experience, never worked on a movie, didn't even really watch that many movies, and all of a sudden I get hired on this major film with Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves that's called The Lake House, and I'm in Chicago working on this film, like, blown away. And then how fast it just sprung from there, from show to show. And all of a sudden it's coming to Michigan, and now I have all of this, like, these skills that I can apply.
I was going to Michigan to meet with some people in film and production and go to the film office and just go in there to make some connections. Michigan is the #1 place to film in the world right now, statistically. The tax credit is the highest it's ever been for any city, for any state. I left everything. I left my career, I left my house, I left my friends for this dream of Detroit. And it was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Studies have shown that for every dollar the state of Michigan gives to this incentive and to these productions, that $6 goes back into the community. Hollywood works like clockwork, you know what I mean? And the way they're bringing things in and the teams of people that can just jump from show to show.
Tina did see a lot of opportunity in Michigan and knew that she could help a lot of people because she saw other people that were out of work and didn't know how to get into a new field. She knew that just with hard work and a really good attitude, you could do a lot in film.
You know, this industry allowed me to start a business here in Michigan, 2 companies actually, and I was able to employ people and get them jobs in the industry, the people that were losing their homes and really had no other opportunities present themselves.
I found myself divorced. I lost already 1 house, and the house that I was living in was going to go into foreclosure. And I also was no longer employed, so there was a lot going on, and I didn't have a lot of perspective. Having kids who, had kind of rough beginnings, it's a lot of responsibilities, and it was really the lowest point of my life. So then Tina came in and we met, and
I basically told Andre, if you really want to be helped, that this industry is here, and I knew exactly what it took, and I knew Andre could do it.
So literally, like within 48 hours, I established a Michigan LLC, which was 4 Film Services, and I went into a film business.
I was going to school for media arts and basically compiling a list of different places I could apply to after I graduate, and obviously they're all out of state, basically with the anticipation that I wouldn't be able to stay in Michigan and do what I wanted to do with my life.
Kayla was an outstanding student. She was serious. She was somebody who was very much rooted in Michigan. She had been working in real estate and knew her way around.
By off chance, I heard about this film that they were doing in Michigan, independent, all locals, and I went in for the interview, and they said, "Do you want to do locations?" And I at the time, I had no idea what locations was, but I was happy and eager and said, "Sure, let's give it a whirl." Because of the word of the film incentive, a lot of people were flocking to this movie because they wanted to get the training and experience. Pretty much everyone on the film was working for free, including Tina, who was my manager. She came out to this film to basically train Michigan people to work in the industry. She knew that there was going to be all these movies coming here, and in order for the incentive to be really effective, we've had to have Michigan residents who were trained in the industry.
The Teamsters opened up the union to people working in locations. Had the Teamsters not at that moment found a need, because there were increasing films coming into town, to open up their doors, Kayla might not have been able to get the work that she ultimately did. But she's worked on major projects, she's moved up in working in locations, and probably now is one of the more sought after people in the locations field.
So I went to high school at Cass Technical High School, and once I graduated from there, I decided to go out of state to pursue a college education. I went to St. Joseph's College, which is in Rensselaer, Indiana. There I studied mass communications, minored in business, with an emphasis on marketing and management.
Cam was a student at the original Burden International, along with his brothers and sisters. Cam was the last of the group to come through. And I've known Cam when he was in the kindergarten. Cam was a great kid.
He wanted to go into communications, and so one thing led to another. He graduated and a little frustrated after college, not able to find a job, and he struggled. Every night I'd watch him on the computer or laptop looking for jobs.
I came home, my mom's telling me about, all this film productions that were going on in the city, and I'm like, yeah, okay, you're right, whatever. Because I'm somewhere else, I'm like, Michigan doesn't have anything going on. But when I got here, lo and behold, there was a lot going on, a lot of work, a lot of people. So what I did was I went on the Michigan Film Office site, I looked up the different productions they had, which at the time they had multiple productions that were going on. And I chose Freaky Deaky. This is what I want to do. When you're passionate about doing something, you make it happen. It's not about the money. It's about fulfilling that passion, fulfilling that hunger. And I'm hungry.
I would set up a meeting with you as soon as possible. That way I have a check to you before anybody does anything to your building. And on Wednesday, sometime midday, you'll have, equipment and crew members filming a movie at your building.
Next thing I know, Time Magazine's interviewing me. I mean, what are the chances of that, And it's kind of funny because I was in the 2008 Most Influential People issue. They weren't interviewing me necessarily. It was just a person that came back to Detroit for this thriving industry that was coming here to Michigan. So it's, it was pretty cool, to be in Time Magazine, I guess. They were saying that on the news today that they're telling tourists, like, all the spots where movies have been filmed, as attractions. People want to go see the set of, Scream 4 or whatever, Everything. It's just that everything looks good. The homeowners are happy, and that's my main concern, When the film incentive passed here, the doors were kind of wide open, and any aspect of life, from food to paint to carpentry to landscaping, just like the doors just kind of opened up and allowed people to get in this industry and actually have a career and health insurance and benefits. The only person that's from out of town is the DP, the director, the producers. Everyone else is a Michigan crew. By one experience on a film set, now these people are able to pay their bills.
This is my weapon for today.
How many films total have you done so far, Andre?
Oh, probably about 10 movies, if not more. We did Betty Ann Waters, Stone, Cedar Rapids, Alleged.
Where are we at right now?
Zingerman's in beautiful Ann Arbor, Michigan. We're just filming here this morning, and we're just doing a little cleanup because we want to make sure everything is perfect.
I've been here for 2 years and haven't found, any decent work until the movies showed up. Until I met Andre. I met Andre through a friend, and now I'm a neighbor of his, and he knew I wasn't working, and he knew I wanted to work. So he offered me to help him on a couple things, and I was able to make some money. I'm working on a couple movies and a couple commercials, and I was able to pay my bills and doing good,
Things are a lot better for me, than they were definitely, a year or 2 years ago, and I'm in a lot better shape than I was. The film industry has been very good to us. It's been very good to us, moving up. Before we know, we'll end up in the middle class or something.
We're going to work. Let's go to work.
And once we we get into production, that's when we actually start doing some of the physical work. A lot of prepping the night before is what we're doing right now. We're gonna put up some signs so people know where they're going. Gonna put up some cones so the trucks can park where they need to park without any difficulty. The spring of 2010, I got another call from HBO. They found my information off the Michigan Film Office website. And actually the only reason I got that job was because there were so many people working for all these different films that were here that they ran out of people to hire. It got really, really big. Everyone was getting hired on everything, and Michigan really started to boom with the film industry.
Action!
You ever swim with him? Well, I never been one of my partners.
And what happened was, I'm leaning up against the wall like this, you know, just kicking it, you know, doing me. And Michael comes out the room, and he looks at me, he says, "How much you weigh? 220, 230? I said, "Nah, so I'm about 250. He said, "Can you swim?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can swim." He's like, "Oh, there's my stunt double right here." I thought he was joking. You know, I laughed it off. I'm like, yeah, I wish, you know.
Did he know that you were trying to get into stunts?
He didn't even know, you know. Sure enough, Christina came to me and was like, "Hey, you fit this build? You want to do it?" I'm like, "Sure." You know, and hey, that's my first, you know, my first gig. You know, I'm pumped up. You know, come into a project like this where I was just, you know, just coming on board just to learn, you know, just to be an intern in PA, but be presented with an opportunity like this, you know, it was just a blessing, and I was able to come back and be kind of thrown right into the fire, you know, and be able to take advantage of the opportunities here, man. There's plenty of opportunities here in Michigan. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, is keeping this industry going and keeping the people here and just working and just making it grow.
To be honest with you, I feel totally punched in the gut, you know? I'm not just one person, there's thousands of us out there in Michigan that want to keep this alive.
We're here to save the stories of every electrician, grip, set designer, catering trade, every painter, baker, hotel worker, rental car firm, every costume shop, photographer, editor, every accountant, every driver, every director, technician, transportation manager, actor.
I lost my job at Kroger. Then the incentives came in. Well, this is the 4th year, so incentives came in and our union had the contracts for the movies, so we moved over and started doing movies. You don't know what the future holds when you lose one job, and you know, fortunate enough to have another door open and be able to walk right into that and be able to make a nice living out of it.
You know, when everything went bad here in Michigan, changed careers at the age of 45. I've been doing this for 2 years now. I love this job. It's the first respectful job I've had since I lost my other one. Get up in the morning and want to come to work. You know, I've worked on 1 full feature film this year so far, and I got 3 days on a HBO special. Last year I worked on 4 films. Hopefully there's something else coming in, but we need to get this thing straightened out so that we can get all the films coming back in.
When the film incentives were passed, there was this new vision. And it was an incredible vision, and I watched it personally change people's lives. When we pass incentives and we excite them about an industry that could be coming to Michigan, and we build the hype, and it's going to be great, and this is going to be Hollywood in the Midwest, you build that anticipation of maybe I will go to school here. And then to take it away is to say, oh, I'm sorry, I guess you will have to move to live that dream.
I'm right in the middle of my 5-year plan. This film incentive was supposed to last for 5 years. And immediately upon the signing of the incentives, I bought a $30,000 vehicle because I knew it was going to change my life. And then from there, the opportunities, I literally never solicited myself for work. It would just be word of mouth recommendations, and I would get call after call and work on film after film, and then take the winters off and do it again, you know. So after 2 years of that, I bought a house, beautiful house, downtown Ferndale, a great piece of property. It was a dream come true, you know. And now, I don't know. I'm considering moving, you know. I'm considering leaving because I love the film business. I loved what I was doing. And all I can do now is think about the future and where I'm going to go.
I lived in Detroit and worked in Detroit for 20-some years. I worked for Kroger Supermarkets, lost my job there, and then I started doing films 4 years ago. I worked on a bunch of films in Detroit. And after this film started going away and I had to go out of town to work, I can't survive on a $10 an hour job, so we're dealt no choice. I have to go out of town.
I got involved even before the movie industry hit here. I got involved with a company called Real Style. They took me in, they took a headshot of me, took a picture of me in the wheelchair, and then maybe a year and a half later when the movies hit Detroit, I started getting emails. So I'm an advocate for the film industry here in Michigan and Detroit. It's bringing jobs. A lot of people don't understand the jobs that it brings here. It's not just people like me to get extras. There's catering companies, there's the hotels. There's just a plethora of things that are bringing money to Detroit.
How my dad and brother kept their 2 little lumber companies open, I have no idea. But they did. And when the incentive came in, Drew Barrymore was one of the first movies into Ann Arbor, and she looked around and she needed lumber. So she found a close lumber company, and they didn't ask how much a piece of plywood was. They asked, how fast can you get it here? Can you have it by Tuesday at 9? And so he did that. And then he delivered, and they paid him, and they left. And there were 4 or 5 movies after that. He said it brought in $200,000 worth of business. He told me he kept people on the payroll because of the tax incentive.
It's gotten a lot of my friends who were broke, making $9 an hour doing e-course rescue, getting shot at, and then like that, having to work 70-some hours a week just to be able to feed their kids. Now they're able to work in the movies and make a decent wage and not lose their house.
Right.
This is the first job I've had all year.
Oh, really?
The last 2.5, 3 years, I was the busiest medic in the whole state. And in the last 6 months, I haven't done anything.
Wow.
This is the first job I've gotten.
I was watching all of this stuff happen, the rise of the creative class, and then it just died. I feel like people are going through a mourning process.
I'm here in disgust of the fact that, like, I actually had some sort of, future and some sort of career here in Michigan, and I have nothing left. I don't know what to do. I have to figure out some sort of other way, or I have to move and start back down at the bottom.
This is not about saving Hollywood. This is about saving Michigan.
We have everything. This state has everything. What other industry is going to come in? What other thing is like doing so well that wants to come to Michigan? And we're like not taking advantage of this. That's what's making me angry. For the first time, we have something that people are wanting to stay here and come back to Michigan, and you know, they just yanked it from right underneath us. Like they didn't even give it a chance to let it develop to see where we could take this industry. I heard like 78 projects have submitted applications and they're not approving anything. Like that's just so ridiculous to me, and we're unemployed right now. Like I just can't believe what's happening.
Why stay here? If Detroit wants to become a ghost town, they should just hang a closed sign, because that's all they're doing. Everybody's just looking for a way out.
And there's movies that want to come, there's money still there, and you know, we're sitting around, you know, trying to figure what we're going to do.
I mean, we're losing the projects because they don't know what's going to happen. It's not because the film is transient, it's because the government here is not supporting it.
The first week that the incentive got reduced, it wasn't even reduced, it was proposed to be reduced. 10 movies pulled out immediately as soon as they were thinking about reducing the incentive. There's a few things going on, but a lot of things have pulled out. But yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. It's looking bad, you know. time's running out. So if something doesn't happen soon, my plan is to just move to another state and start all over again.
Tina, Lena. What are we gonna do? What are you gonna do if no more films come?
Move. I went through so much to finally make it here and buy this house and invested everything I had into this. You know, I'm devastated now because, you know, I feel like a failure for me to go back to Chicago and go back to work there or try and go to another state.
I do worry about what's going to happen with the film industry. I worry about, you know, if this will continue. That's what I mean. It's just so screwed up that this has to end. Whatever I did in 2009, I doubled that in 2010. Now, and I had like a secret wish that I could like double that in 2011. You know?
Right. And you would have.
Yeah.
So when Governor Snyder proposed a $25 million cap, how many movies have you worked on since then?
None.
You haven't worked on not a single project?
Not at one single show.
There's a lot of people and a lot of families that are hurting right now. I mean, these people that do have young children and stuff, what are they going to do? They're going to go on welfare. They have no other choice. You know, if you can't find work around here, so if Michigan thinks pushing the movie industry out of here is a good thing, well, you'd rather pay people welfare. That's the way our state feels. And I think it's wrong. It's wrong.
You think you're going to run out of money in a couple months?
Yeah. So there's nothing happening. And you know, I worked for a day for Tom on this 5-year engagement, but I don't think he's going to use me much.
And you can't even follow the industry to say, you know, you got your kids here. They're like,
well, I thought about it, but okay, so now the kids are finishing 10th grade, and I was hoping not to leave them.
1 week, move to Cleveland, work on a movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you really going?
I really am going.
It's 100%?
100%.
Tell me how it feels that your sister is leaving next week.
It sucks.
Where is she going? Tell me a little bit.
She's going to Cleveland to work on a big film, which is amazing, but it'd be better if it was here.
This is home. Home sweet home. 1716.
So this movie, the whole thing is supposed to be in Detroit?
The screenplay is Detroit, and the whole thing was, I believe, was actually supposed to be shot in Detroit, which is why they wrote it for Detroit, because the books are all Washington, D.C. So why else would they put it in Detroit? Because they thought they were going to shoot there. I mean, it's a really great experience, and it's, you know, going to be definitely a turning point in my life and in my career, but I'd rather stay in Michigan.
In 2008, we had 70 students in our film major. Now we have 150 film majors. And I think a lot of that can directly be attributed to the interest in film that was generated with Michigan Film Incentives coming to town.
We'll see what happens. It looks like Cleveland's starting to become like the new Michigan, so I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be leaving Michigan to go to Ohio now, which is really sad because everyone was staying here or coming to Michigan, and now we're just losing everything that we built in the last 3 years.
You know, it's not a lot going on. It's not a lot of work to be found. Not a lot of jobs to be picked up. You know, my family's here in Michigan. A lot of my roots are here in Michigan, friends. A lot of other connections, strong connections. I have strong ties to Detroit and Michigan. For anybody that thinks that, you know, the film industry here in Michigan is a joke, it's not. You know, a lot of situations here, a lot of people, they're in a predicament where this is all they do, this is all they know. You know, and if something like this industry was to leave Michigan, a lot of people are going to be out of jobs, period. You know, people are dedicated to this. They show up every day, work, you know, 12, 14, 16, 17, 20 hours, you know, trying to make a living, trying to survive, trying to put food on the table for their family, trying to put clothes on the back of their children, you know, trying to, you know, keep a roof over their head for their wives and their husbands. This is not a game. You know, this is a lifestyle. This is
This is life.
Hello.
Hello, how can I help you?
I have one question for you.
Yes. Go ahead. I'm listening. I am here to serve the people.
Why would you reduce the film incentive? We need to increase the cap from 25 million to 100 million in order to create a sustainable industry.
It just doesn't work.
But it created thousands of jobs for Michiganders.
It just doesn't work.
But it worked for New York.
It just doesn't work.
But it brought millions of dollars into the economy.
It just doesn't work.
Tourism has increased from the exposure.
It just doesn't work.
Florida reduced their film incentive. They then realized they made a mistake and put it back in place.
It just doesn't work.
So many of my co-workers are leaving Michigan to go to other states to work.
It just doesn't work.
We need to keep our young people here. We need to stop the brain drain.
It just doesn't work.
It's working for Illinois.
It just doesn't work.
It's working for Louisiana.
It just doesn't work for Michigan.
But I live in Michigan. I want to work in Michigan.
I guess you're shit out of luck then. The end.
You told me I was charmed. Ain't that a strange thing to say? Someone, or someone beautiful. The king's horses and all the king's men. Not a single one of them will I put clothes on. Naked truth again. She was standing there blushing but plain proud. She opened up her heart in her arms and nervously sang out to the crowd. You told me I was charmed. Ain't that a strange thing to say? Someone when you're or someone beautiful. And you're walking away, and you're walking away, and you're walking away, so you call me up on a telephone and you say come on over to my home. So I click my heels 3 times and walk the block. Ladies, let them at your door and then you turn me back. Why?